Hello, hope you guys are doing fantastic today. So I wanted to make this video for 2 days now, but I was just lacking time, unfortunately. But here it is. So 3 days ago, I decided to really look into what the new support gems do. The lineage supports, the ones that they said that they're really powerful, and there are a few very interesting ones apart from the ones that we were currently using. But the one that mostly stood up to me was a gem, also known as Garukhan's Resolve. And I tested it, and it turns out that this is actually like one of the, if not the best gem, specifically for this setup, for Nebuloch setup. And why is that? I'm going to show you guys in this video. Additionally, I'm going to make this video kind of like two separate topics. Because after I'm going to explain what this does, we're going to go over the shield that I crafted myself. It's one of the best shields on the market right now, and surprisingly, very surprisingly, you can get something like that is going to be just slightly worse, relatively cheap. It's not going to cost you like fortune or like leg or something like that. So we're going to go over this support gem, and after that I'm going to show you how to craft something similar to this. Alright, let's jump into it. Okay, so here we are. Ahead of us, Zesht, probably my favorite damage sponge in the game. Probably the best way to test characters' tankiness and damage. So this is usually what I do when I want to experiment with stuff. And we're going to swap back to Ataluis on Shield Wall, and let's see what's gonna happen. By the way, I have to admit that I did some math, and honestly, the damage you could get overall, if you really wanted to invest into it, on something like Shield Wall would actually be ridiculous. It would actually be ridiculous. You could probably get like 40 million damage if you really wanted. So let's get the Rage, let's get the Endurance Charge. And unfortunately, I messed up completely here, but that's fine. I'm going to explain later why. But that's fine, we're just gonna do it again. And both of the times I messed up because I didn't get the 40% more damage bonus from fully broken armor. Because you're supposed to, what's supposed to happen? You're supposed to put the shield wall next to the enemy, like as close to them as possible. This way, you're going to get a 40% damage bonus for fully broken armor, right? Because if you're going to put it on top of the enemy, the fully broken armor from Armor Breaker is going to get consumed. But it's fine, it doesn't really matter, right? The point is, I will be hitting for about 11 million if I did it properly. I just messed up there a little bit, but I'm not gonna do it again, so just so you know. But the point is, what does Garukhan Resolve do? There is a huge benefit here, and there is like a small negative, which to me, this negative is not really a big deal, and I don't really care about that much, but I'm gonna let you decide. So what does it do? Attack critical hit chance with supported skills, and bifurcates, I guess is the way you say that. I don't know. It's tough. And what does that do is it basically rolls the critical hit chance twice. If the first critical hit chance roll succeeds, then nothing happens basically. You just have a critical, right? But if it rolls again, it's going to roll again after that. And if the second critical hit roll is also going to succeed, then your attack is going to get double the critical damage bonus. Guess what? Guess what happens here? Nebuloch guarantees a critical hit with Endurance Charge. So this basically unlucky critical chance hit thing that needs to roll twice, it doesn't matter because for both critical rolls, this weapon has a 100% chance. So this support, what it does for Nebuloch tech, and generally speaking for builds that have close to 100% critical hit chance or close to it, what this support does is basically you get double damage. Like instead of right now I'm sitting at what is this? 343 critical damage bonus. Instead of that I have almost 700. Thanks to this support. So this support basically for Nebuloch is double damage. And that's freaking insane. Now there is a penalty. You need to move 20 meters before you can use the skill again. So for example, I'm going to put the shield wall over here, right? and I'm gonna hit Zest for 11 million, I can't use it until I'm going to do something like this. Jump this way, jump back, and boom, I can use it again. Is that a big thing? Is that annoying? Is that a big penalty? In my opinion, not necessarily, because the only time you're going to use shield wall is going to be against bosses, pretty much. Very rarely against like a really tanky rares, maybe abyssal rares while mapping, but that's not really a big problem because you're gonna drop it once, you're gonna kill them, then you just continue mapping, right? And this thing is going to come back eventually after a few seconds, so it's not really a big deal. But against bosses, I think that getting 100% more damage support is probably worth it for like a slight inconvenience of having to do something like this. The good news is that at the same time you're going to refresh your consecrated ground, so you're going to have additional regeneration after you land. So once again, if this is something that you want to use, in my opinion, is 100% worth it, because at this point we're hitting so hard that if you wanted to, for example, redo the tree a little bit and stuff like that, for example, I don't know, drop a little bit of tankiness, like this cluster, for example, then you could definitely get to the point where you can, for example, invest into Rage Cluster over here, or maybe even more damage over here, and you can start one-shotting Pinnacle bosses. So if you're one-shotting everything, then, you know, having to move, having to jump twice to refresh the skill to use it again is not really that big of a problem, is it? But that's pretty much it when it comes to the skill. 100% more damage for like a, in my opinion, not very annoying penalty. If you want to use it, you absolutely can. It's very cheap, and I bought it like 3 days ago for 15 results. I'm assuming that right now it's probably even cheaper. So yeah, so it's definitely very powerful. If you want to use it, feel free to do so. And yeah, let's jump into the how to craft a shield like you know, a 1500 plus armor shield for not necessarily, it is going to cost you a little bit, but it's not going to be that crazy, so let's jump into it. Okay, so basically to explain how to craft it, I'm going to use two sources. First of all, this is like slightly edited video that I made myself, and I decided not to you know, upload it on YouTube because I decided to like connect the two videos into one. But we're going to use this as a reference, and second thing that we're going to use is PoEDB. This is very important because PoEDB, when it comes to crafting, shows us the weights of different different affixes, what tags different affixes have, which is very important, like for example defenses or life and stuff like that. So both of these things are going to be very important. We're gonna use both of them to explain how to do it, how to craft a very good shield like this. So first of all, what you need, and don't look at the price tag over here because you absolutely do not need a shield like this, is you need to get a base. And what I basically recommend is either buying like Tahon Tower Shield bases with either 2 sockets or very high percent quality, for example like 27-28% plus, depending on what your budget is. This shield is so expensive because this was only a base on the market like this that had quality and 2 sockets at the same time, and I decided to go for it. Was it worth 20 divines or not? I'm not sure, but at the time I had like 120 divines in my stash, so I decided, screw it, let's just go for it, right? But what you're gonna need is base, right? And I think that generally speaking, the bases with 2 sockets and 20% quality are going to be, excuse me, are going to be much cheaper, or a little bit cheaper at least. Generally, they shouldn't be like too expensive, right? Because they're gonna be like, I think 20 or 30 exalts each. And there is a chance, depending on which which method you choose to craft this shield, there is a chance that you're only going to need 1. You're not going to need more than 1. So basically, first things first, you need to get a base, and that's all there is to it. Okay, so first step, let's just say you get your bases over here, and what you want to do is chaos spam until you're going to get, and you only want to have 1 modifier, right? And you want to chaos spam until you're going to get T1% armor or T1 flat armor. Both of them have pretty high weighting, 22% to get armor, and 17, almost 18% to get percent armor. So in total, and every single modifier has the same weight. So in total, it's not going to cost you very much in order to get tier 1, this one or this one. And once again, it doesn't really matter which one you're going to get. If you're going to get tier 1, this is what you wanted. So basically, yeah. So you want to chaos spam until you get your T1 armor or flat armor modifiers, and this is the moment where you want to choose if you want to fracture it or not. If you want to fracture it, basically you need to exalt it 3 times and use the fracturing orb and hope that you're going to fracture your T1 armor or T1% armor. Preferably, you would still want this percent armor or flat armor not to be the lowest possible, because percent armor, for example, can roll from 100 to 110% if you're gonna, or like 101 or something like that. So if you're gonna have like a really low modifier, fracturing it, you know, you won't be able to divine it in the future. The same for flat armor. And if you don't want to fracture it, then if something bad happens, which you know, we're gonna talk about in a second, then the only problem is that you'll have to get this percent armor or flat armor again. In my opinion, it's not that big of a deal, and honestly, I would probably, if you were asking me which method I would choose, I would probably go with the method where I don't fracture at all, because it's really not that hard to get high percent or high flat armor by just chaos spamming, and it's not going to cost you that much, even if you're going to fail the next step multiple times. But yeah, this is just what I would do, and I'll leave it up to you if you, for example, really want to do some math to test, to like, you know, calculate how much cost on average both methods gonna cost. Then you know, from my experience, I'm going to say that they're going to be average, but you know, it's up to you at this point. So basically, chaos spam until you get tier 1 armor, tier 1 flat armor, and then you choose if you want to fracture or not. If you don't want to fracture, and this is the method I'm going to go over, then you know, on to the next step. So the next step, which is kind of funny because we're basically already in the middle of our crafting project, it's very easy to craft that, is you need to have some currency saved up, and we're gonna use some expensive stuff right here. So what you want to use is a combination of this thing from Ritual that makes your Exalted Orb repeat, Perfect Exalted Orb, and Orb of Homogenizing Exaltation, I believe is its name. What does this combination do? So basically, the Perfect Exalted Orb means that the next modifier that you're going to receive cannot be lower than eye level 50 modifier, right? So you're, generally speaking, you're going to get high tier modifiers. This orb over here, this omen, is going to repeat this Exalted Orb. These ones are very cheap, so basically this is your way of reducing the cost of Perfect Exalted Orb by half, pretty much, because this one is like 1 Exalt. So you get basically 2 Perfect Exalted Orbs instead of 1. And what does the Omen of Homogenizing Exaltation do? So basically, what it does is, let's just say that you have one of these modifiers, and these modifiers have defense modifiers and nothing else, just defense, right? So what the Omen of Homogenizing Exaltation does is it's going to choose one of your modifiers, and you're going to get your next Exalted Orb is going to give you another modifier of the same type. But if you're going to look closely, if you, for example, have, let's just say that you have T1 flat armor, right? Or it doesn't even matter if it's T1, just any flat armor, right? If we're going to look closely at shields, there is only 3 defensive modifiers from the entire pool. There is only armor, percent armor, and armor applies to elemental damage. There are no other modifiers that you can receive. There is nothing else. That's the only 3. So if you have 1 defensive modifier, basically, and you use double Perfect Exalted Orb with Homogenizing Exaltation, that means that you're going to receive, guaranteed, the remaining 2. So it's a guaranteed that you're going to receive, let's just say you have T1 flat armor, right? It's guaranteed that you're going to receive at least, because the minimum level from perfect, the perfect orb of, the Perfect Exalted Orb, the minimum item level you can receive is 50. So it's guaranteed that you're going to get at least tier 4 thickened and at least tier 2 armor applies to Ellie. You cannot get anything else. And here's the kicker. Armor applied to Ellie, at least being tier 2, that's totally fine. And by the way, you can also choose if you want to add this to your shield. Spoiler, you do. But if you don't want to, you can just use regular Perfect Exalted Orb without this. And instead, you're going to use this one, which, hold on. I'm going to remind myself real fast what this one is called, just so that I'm not going to confuse you guys. Omen of Sinistral Exaltation. If you only want to get high tier of armor and you don't want to get armor applied to Ellie for some reason, for some reason. For our build, this suffix is great, but for other builds, maybe they don't stack armor, so you know what I mean, right? But if you want to do that, you're going to need to use, instead of this one, instead of Armor of Greater Exaltation, to repeat your Perfect Exalted, you want to use Omen of Sinister Exaltation because it's going to guarantee that your next Exalted Orb is only going to add a prefix. So at this point, you have a guaranteed. It's guaranteed that you're going to get either increased armor or flat armor, right? So this is what you want to do. And here is the thing. Since I mentioned that you only have a chance to get up to these 4 modifiers, right? Because Perfect Exalted is going to give you 50 plus modifiers only. That basically means, with the same weight, that you have 1 in 4th chance that you're going to get tier 1 with this Perfect Exalted Orb. We have 25% chance that you're going to get tier 1. Now, what is important? You can, of course, settle. You can, for example, depending on what your goal is, you can, for example, settle and say to yourself, "Oh, I want tier 1 and tier 2 only, right? And I'm going to settle for that. If I'm going to get tier 3 or tier 4, then it's doomed, right?" So that's a good goal to have, right? That means that if you want to settle for tier 1 or tier 2, which is still going to be a very high armor shield, and it's not going to be that expensive at the end of the day, then what happens basically is you still have like a 1400 armor shield, and you have 50% chance of hitting tier 1 or tier 2, right? Because you have 25% chance of hitting every single modifier. But if you only want to, for example, settle for tier 1, then basically if you're going to get something like tier 3 or tier 4, something that you don't want, then you have to start from scratch. And basically getting back to the point where you have tier 1 armor or tier 1% armor is not going to be a big deal, because as I said before, I don't know, 20, 30 chaos, 40 chaos orbs, and you should be back at the starting point. The biggest cost, of course, is Perfect Exalted Orb and Homogenizing Exaltation, because that's in total is going to be like 3 to 4 divines per try. So it's important here at this step to like set your goal and realize what you exactly want to do. And once you're going to hit, as you're going to see over here, our first Perfect Exalted here was tier 2 armor applies to Ellie, and unfortunately tier 3 armor. So what I basically had to do is I had to annul from this point, and I got lucky because I annulled 2 modifiers that I didn't care for. I mean, I wanted them gone. So I basically was immediately back to step 1, and I could go at this point. I could go again. So I got lucky there. This is what you're supposed to do, by the way. 2 annuls, and you have a decent chance that you're going to keep your percent armor. So something to keep in mind. So immediately after that, I went for another try, because thankfully I had a lot of currency saved up. And what happened is, boom, I got tier 1 armor my second try, with tier 2 armor applies to elemental damage. Not a big deal. The most important here, of course, is tier 1 armor. And this is already like a pretty decent looking shield, right? If I had iron runes inside, this would be already like 1350, maybe a little bit more armor shield. Here is next step, and this one, honestly, I'll tell you what I did, and I'll tell you what I think the appropriate way of doing that should be, and you're just gonna choose whichever you prefer, right? So what I did in the beginning is, and what you want to do generally speaking, is you want to use you're gonna see over here that at this point there are very few prefixes that you can get, right? You have life, basically. You have increased armor and stun threshold, and this is the modifier that you're looking for. You have physical thorns, and you have increased block chance. So very high, and block chance on top of that has pretty low weight. So most of the time you're going to get life, increased armor and stun threshold, and physical thorns damage. And what you want to be doing at this point is basically you have the shield over here. Let's just say imaginary. You want to be doing this, only prefix, this, and what I was doing was this. And here is the thing. You have two options at this point. You can either use Preserved Rib with Omen of Sinister Necromancy to guarantee that your Abyssal Craft is going to be prefix. And this is what we want, because we want to increase our armor. And then, of course, you want to be using Omen of Abyssal Echoes because it allows you to reroll the effect, effectively giving you double the chance of getting the modifier that you're looking for. Or what you can use, and in my opinion that's going to be better, albeit more expensive, but at the end of the day it's going to be still, like, you know, it's going to be cheaper, I think, than using these ones. What you can use is use Ancient Rib, and this guarantees that the minimum modifier level is going to work exactly the same like this one, but it guarantees that the minimum modifier level is going to be at least level 40. What does that mean? That means that if you're going to unveil with Omen of Abyssal Echoes, you have two chances back to back of getting, you're going to get at least this one. You're going to get at least tier 3 armor with stun threshold. At least tier 3. And you have 1 in 3 chance of getting every single one of those. As we mentioned before, you're going to get that pretty much every single unveil because there's only 3 options left for the prefixes, and the block chance has the lowest weighting. So if you're going to use Ancient Rib with Sinistral Necromancy for guaranteed prefix and this, there is a very, very good chance actually that you're going to get something like at least tier 2 increased armor with stun threshold. Tier 2, you're most definitely going to get tier 3 if you are very unlucky. There is a decent chance you're going to get tier 1. And this is basically that's what you're looking for, and that's what you want to do. I made a mistake of using these orbs of these regular not ancient ribs, these preserved ribs twice, and I had to use I failed both of them because I had low modifiers, and I had to use 2 Omens of Light, which are very expensive. Because Omen of Light is going to remove the desecrated modifier, so you can basically go again, right? In my opinion, it's going to be much cheaper to use Ancient Rib and have a guaranteed at least tier 3%. It's not even that expensive, right? It's going to cost you like Divine and a half. But these orbs, as you can see, for example, these are so much more expensive, right? These are double the price just to remove the desecrated modifier. So in my opinion, it's going to be way more efficient and way better to just use these to have at least guaranteed tier 3 armor, and you're gonna be fine. And even if you're going to even if you want to only get tier 3, that's still going to be a very good shield. Even if you get really, really unlucky, it's unlikely that you're going to get this one 2 times in a row, right? Or you're not going to get armor because it's going to roll block chance, for example, right? It's very unlikely. So with Ancient Rib, it's pretty much guaranteed that you're going to get one of these 3. And at this point, you have a very good shield. You have almost like a 1500 armor or 1480 shield, and you can absolutely use that. And in total, it's going to cost you like what? Like the base and then the Chaos Orbs for rolling. Of course, depending on if you want tier 1 armor or tier 2, or maybe even you want to settle for tier 3 because you don't want to, you just want to use one perfect exalted and, like, you know, don't look back and still have a decent shield. You can do that. It's not going to cost you that much. If you want to have all 3 tier 1 perfect modifiers, then it's going to cost you a little bit more. But that being said, still very easy, a very simple way of deterministically crafting this shield, and yeah, it's not that expensive, and you're gonna have a very nice shield. And on top of that, you're gonna have a shield with armor applies to Ellie, at least tier 2. You can't get lower than that if you're going to choose the method that I'm using. You can't get lower than this. And after that, basically, what happened is I failed it twice because I was using the regular rib, not the ancient one. And after I got myself the ancient one, the first thing I got was tier 1 immediately, a T1% armor. And I'm going to skip the part where, there it is. I'm going to skip the part where I was divining the shield because it was a nightmare. I spent 17 divines on the shield and it's still, the result wasn't great. And then I only had 1570 armor on this shield after 17 divines. And yesterday I used one divine because I was pissed off that it's only that low, and I got 1600. I got this one after a single divine yesterday. So in total I spent 18 divines just divining this shield to have above 1600 armor, but there it is, right? And to finish it off, what you want to do, basically, what I did, and the rest just kind of depends on you, is basically what I did is I applied, it's going to be soon over here. Shield is obviously very high now, and what I did is I bought another perfect exalted orb and added another, the omen that repeats your exalted orb. And basically what happened is that we got pretty lucky because we got tier 1 additional physical damage reduction. I wonder if this could even be lower. Oh yeah, it could be lower. It could be tier 3 or tier 4. So first of all, not only we got a modifier that is, well, it's not that rare, but it's rarer than one of these, right? We got tier 1 and we got cold resistance. If I wanted to make this shield basically like borderline mirror worthy, then I would try to do whittlings to get rid of that cold resistance, and possibly the best modifier to get here would be, I guess, maximum res would be the best. 1 in 2 chance, but the weighting on maximum res is extremely low. It's only 250. So this, by the way, this one is bugged. Don't look at this. They just don't have the weight yet, but it's not that low. It's not for sure. So so yeah, basically we have a shield like this. Right now it's even better, and it didn't take me that much. Even though I did some, I lost quite a lot of currency by using regular preserved ribs, which in my opinion was a mistake. It was still like, we still got unlucky when it comes to divining it, like big time unlucky. And in total, it cost me like about 50 divines. And this is including the fact that 55 divines maybe. And this is including the fact that the base cost me 20 divs. The base for you, if you don't care about having like an insane base like this, it's going to cost you like 20 exalt or something like this. So the base is going to be cheap for you. So you can expect to get something that is going to give you 1500 armor. I would say maybe in 10 divines. If you're unlucky, maybe in like 15 to 20 divines, but still, like for a shield like this, it's going to be way easier to buy it compared to, it's going to be way easier to craft it, way cheaper compared to buying it for like 30-40 divines on the market. So this is basically how I did it, and you guys can absolutely do it yourself as well, and best of luck basically. And this is pretty much everything that I wanted to show you in this video. Thank you very much for watching. Next video, I know I keep on saying that the next video is going to be like in a day or two, but it's just, I wish that the day had more than 24 hours nowadays. But the next video, I'm probably going to give you an update, and we're going to get to the point where we are going to be one-shotting pinnacle bosses with Hulk Smash. And yeah, the next video is basically going to be like a character update. I'm going to show you guys what the heck is going on, and the updates that I did. And also there's going to be a small reference for like a small tip for hardcore players. We're going to talk about what changes I would make to the build if I wanted to play it in hardcore. There's some small changes you can do to make this build even safer, and like actually much more safer and even much more tankier in hardcore. If you want to sacrifice, I don't know, 20-25% of your damage, then you can make it much more comfy still, and it's already like an incredibly comfy build because you just don't die. The only thing that is relatively dangerous is abyss damage over time, and I'm specifically talking about the rare abyss monsters that like do a lot of physical damage over time. Other than that, there's nothing kills this build. Just nothing kills this build. Period. Like just nothing. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that in the next video. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and see you next time. Bye bye.